Anilon waited for Kanvar and Dar-Anadhar beside Devaj. He spoke as they returned. Rajahansa and another gold dragon have been sighted coming this way. They must be following Kanvar's mind. Tell him to block his thoughts. How many blues should I send to stop them? Let them come, Dar-Anadhar ordered. What? Anilon roared. Let Rajahansa into our mountains? The Nagas will enslave us all. Let them come, I said, Dar-Anadhar growled. Anilon backed away, considering for the first time disobeying Dar-Anadhar, even challenging him for leadership. If the gold dragons came, all would be lost. Anilon, trust me. The Nagas can no longer enslave us. My mind is now as powerful as Rajahansa's. Let Rajahansa come for the prince. I will deal with him. Anilon let out an angry growl. If you're wrong, you've doomed us all. I'm not wrong, Dar-Anadhar said. Despite Dar-Anadhar's reassurance, Anilon called all the blue dragons and had them perch on the cliffs above the lake, ready to fight. It seemed like forever before Kanvar felt the throb of Rajahansa's wings fanning the air above him. The great gold king landed along with Saran, Parmvar's dragon, who had the same brittle, sunken skin as Akshara. Parmvar slid from Saran's back and hobbled over to Kanvar and Devaj with a vial of orange liquid. He lifted Devaj's head and poured the liquid into his mouth. Nothing happened. Parmvar started counting under his breath. When he reached 10, Devaj's body jerked. He coughed. And then sucked in a breath of air. His eyes fluttered open. Devaj, Kanvar cried, "You're awake. Thank the fountain." Devaj blinked up at Parmvar and Kanvar. "Where am I?" "You probably don't want to know," Kanvar said. He turned his gaze to the golds. Anilon had placed himself between Dar-Anadhar and the golds, reared up and spread his wings ready to fight, though fear coursed through him at facing the gold king and his naga. He had an iron box in his claw, and Kanvar realized he'd retrieved Akshara's stone from the cave. "No," Dar-Anadhar said. His claw closed around Anilon's, trapping the iron box in his grip. "I promised Kanvar the life of his brother in exchange for his own. Tonight I keep that promise. Take Devaj and go." Dar-Anadhar's thoughts flicked to the circle of angry blue dragons perched on the cliffs ready to attack, and Anilon's claw trembling with fear and anger trapped in his own. "Thank you," Kanvar's father said. "I am deeply grateful. We will take Devaj and leave now." He stared down at Kanvar. "Are you all right?" he asked. Kanvar nodded. "You should come back to the palace with us," his father said. "This is not a suitable place for a Naga to live. Even though you've bonded with Dar-Anadhar, you don't have to stay with him." Kanvar considered the warmth and comfort of the palace compared to living in a cold cave in the high mountains. Dar-Anadhar let out a low growl. "You are free," he told Kanvar. "I won't force you to stay." "But you cannot see without me," Kanvar said. "You cannot lead the pride without me. I'm staying here." Kanvar's father frowned, but made no further attempt to persuade Kanvar to leave the blue dragons. Parmvar got Devaj to his feet and helped him shuffle past the blue dragons and down to the golds. Parmvar's ancient dragon lifted the two of them up onto his neck and then launched into the air. Rajahansa followed Parmvar's dragon as he flew away. Dar-Anadhar released Anilon's claw. Akshara's last desire was for peace, he told Anilon. Anilon let out a low rumble. "It may take some time," Dar-Anadhar said. "But I think it is possible." Anilon growled and retreated into his lair. Dar-Anadhar stalked over to Kanvar. "I hope Devaj will be all right now," Kanvar said. "He seems to be." The tip of Dar-Anadhar's tail twitched back and forth. "Stupid weak princeling, can't handle a little knock on the head." "The singing stone didn't help any," Kanvar said in defense of his brother. "You Nagas are far more trouble than you're worth," Dar-Anadhar said. "I can be useful," Kanvar protested. "I finished Abhavesama off, after all." "A lucky shot." "Not true. I even killed a great green dragon without your help." Kanvar smiled at the comfortable banter with his dragon. "You killed Mahant?" Dar-Anadhar chuckled. "Should have known. We'll have to go back and get his stone for our collection." "What? You collect dragon stones like a dragon hunter?" Kanvar was certain the gold dragons would think that barbaric. "Yes. When we fight, we consider it an honor to have our stones kept by the victor." A lick of blue fire escaped from between Dar-Anadhar's teeth. "Abhavesama's and Mahant stones will be a great start to your own collection, little dragon hunter. But a villager told me I couldn't take Mahant's dragonstone. It needed to stay there to give life to the jungle." Kanvar remembered how adamant Tana had been that he leave the stone with Mahant's corpse. "That's nonsense," Dar-Anadhar growled. "The native villagers are far too superstitious, but they've been in this jungle longer than we have. They've always treated dragons with respect, so we leave them alone." But they have no right to stop you from taking a Dragonstone you rightfully won in combat. We'll get it. Don't worry. The villagers won't stop us, and nothing bad will happen to the jungle despite what they believe. I get to keep the stones then, Kanvar said. They're mine to do with as I please? Kanvar couldn't suppress his excitement. Yes, of course, Dar Anadhar rumbled. Good, then I know exactly what we're going to do as soon as your wing heals. Kanvar limped out of the shadow of the trees into the sunlit field. A heavy satchel hung over his shoulder. It was morning and the Maran Colony gate was open. Dar Anadhar had flown Kanvar as close to the colony as he could during the night without being seen. Kanvar had to walk the rest of the way. It wasn't a great distance, but still a bit taxing for Kanvar. As Kanvar walked into town, he waved to the soldiers who guarded the gate as if he were returning from emptying Chandran's chamber pot out to fertilize the fields. Something he'd done every morning for so many years. The soldiers waved back, then Kanvar felt their minds dive into a flurry of disbelief. The watchers in the tower had reported Kanvar being carried away by the great blue dragon almost a week before. Everyone figured Kanvar was dead. Before they could straighten their minds out and say anything, Kanvar had limped past them into the colony. As he walked down the street, one of the soldiers from the gate raced past him, off to report to the general that Kanvar had returned. Before Kanvar reached the barracks, Chandran strode out to meet him. "You wretched boy," he said. "I should have you whipped for disobeying me. I told you to stay at the barracks. But no. You had to go mess around with that Naga." Chandran's face was red, and he sputtered in indignation, but his thoughts screamed past Kanvar's shield. Chandran had been devastated when the dragon carried Kanvar away. It was a heart-wrenching loss that had nearly put the old soldier into his grave. Kanvar was glad Chandran didn't know the truth that Kanvar had not only gone into the jungle but also that he was a Naga and had bonded with the Murni's worst enemy. Kanvar felt a bit guilty about that, like he'd betrayed Chandran, but Kanvar couldn't bring himself to regret his actions. He'd done what he had to do to save his brother. "Thanks, Master Chandran. I missed you too," Kanvar said. "Where have you been? How are you still alive?" Chandran demanded. "I fought a great blue dragon and won," Kanvar said. Chandran frowned at him in disbelief. "I also killed a great green dragon." He slipped his hand into his satchel. "Chandran, I thank you for arranging my apprenticeship to the Kamdar keeper. I suspect you spent your entire retirement savings to do it. But the truth is, I could never be happy as a Kamdar handler. I'm a dragon hunter at heart and always will be. I'd like to buy my way out of the apprenticeship." Chandran's face wrinkled in disappointment. He'd been so relieved to see Kanvar return alive, though he didn't believe Kanvar's story. He put a hand on Kanvar's shoulder. "Please, Kanvar. You'll never have enough money to pay me back. A Kamdar handler is a noble profession." Kanvar's hand closed around the green dragonstone, and he pulled it from the satchel, lifting it so the facets caught the light. Chandran gasped. "I think this might be enough for you to retire on in plenty of comfort," Kanvar said, holding the stone out to Chandran. General Samdrason and his officers marched up as Chandran accepted the stone from Kanvar. Chandran's disbelief in Kanvar's story fell away to wonder and astonishment. "What is going on here?" General Samdrason demanded. Rahi appeared following Samdrason. A black and green bruise marred his right cheek, and he had lash marks on his arms. It appeared Samdrason had not been happy that the Naga had escaped burning. "I killed a great blue dragon," Kanvar said. "Liar." Samdrason pulled his sword from the sheath and set the tip against Kanvar's chest. "You freed the Naga and turned it over to the Great Blue. You are a traitor and a Naga lover, and for that you will burn in his place." The officers rushed forward to grab Kanvar. Before they got hold of his arms, Kanvar lifted the giant blue dragonstone out of his satchel. "I did kill a great blue dragon, and this proves it. I simply used the Naga as bait." Not the exact truth, but the closest Kanvar could get without letting on he was a Naga too. Chandran gasped. Most great blue dragons that died were shot down with the ballista while in combat with the soldiers. Those dragonstones were claimed by the company that had founded the colony. Kanvar's dragonstone was gigantic and worth enough money the dragon hunter who won it would spend the rest of his life in wealth and comfort. Samdrason cast greedy eyes upon it, and his lips curled in annoyance. He couldn't burn Kanvar now. With a stone like that, Kanvar would be a hero, a legend, and a very wealthy man. Kanvar's hand shook from holding the weight of the stone. "General," Kanvar said, "I'd like to give you this stone in exchange for Rahi's freedom." "You want to trade the dragonstone for that stunted worm?" Samdrason's voice shook as he pointed at Rahi. "Yes. The stone for Rahi." Rahi stared at Kanvar in utter bewilderment. "Get over here, boy," Samdrason ordered Rahi. Rahi came forward and stopped beside Samdrason. Kanvar held the dragonstone out to the general. Samdrason grabbed it. Now he would be rich. He would be the hero. Rahi raced over. Kanvar, I can't believe you did it. General Samdrason strode away, leaving Chandran, Rahi, and Kanvar alone. I'm going back into the jungle, Kanvar said. Chandran, you should take passage on the first ship back to Maran. Settle down in style with your daughter and grandchildren. I'm afraid the Blue Dragons will mount a retaliation for my actions, one this colony might not recover from. You should go and take Rahi with you. Make sure he has a good life. Chandran stared down at the stone in his hand. His eyes glinted with joy at the thought of finally being able to give up his life as a soldier and live in peace. Of course I'll take care of Rahi. No way, Rahi said. I'm staying with Kanvar. I want to be a dragon hunter too. Kanvar can teach me. Kanvar shook his head in alarm. Rahi, you can't come with me. Rahi narrowed his eyes in a cunning smile. I'm free now. Thanks to you. Sorry I laughed when he said you would come back and free me. But you have freed me. And since I'm free, I get to choose my own path. I do not want to live in Maran. I want to kill dragons and earn enough money to get passage back to my village in the mountains of Darvan. Kanvar's mind whirled. He had not guessed Rahi would want to follow him. He couldn't bring his friend to live with the Blue Dragons. It wouldn't be safe, and Rahi was sure to hate Kanvar as soon as he found out Kanvar was a Naga. Kanvar reached his mind out to Dar Anadhar, who waited for him out in the jungle. What should I do? Take him to the village. You can visit him there, and he'll be safely away from the colony when we start burning crops and things, Dar Anadhar said. Tell him you'll teach him to hunt from the village. All right, Rahi, Kanvar said. But we'll have to get you some armor and weapons. Until then you have to agree to stay in a safe spot while I go out and hunt. Yes. Rahi punched the air in excitement. I get to learn dragon hunting from the best dragon hunter ever. He headed for the colony gates. Come on. Let's go. Kanvar nodded to Chandran. Thank you for everything. Be well. Chandran's mouth curled in a fatherly smile. I'm sorry I didn't believe you could survive in the jungle, but do me a favor, and don't get yourself killed. If I hear word that some dragon finished you off, I'll come back over here and boot you in the rear. Kanvar grinned. I have no intention of getting killed. Kanvar, come on, Rahi called. Kanvar nodded to Chandran and limped after his friend. They passed through the colony gates and kicked up a swarm of jeweled dragonflies which buzzed around them in a rainbow of color. The thought of revisiting the village before returning to Dar Anadhar's lair thrilled Kanvar. He'd get to see Tana again, and just maybe she'd hold his hand.